Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where three friends come together to talk about the stories behind the matches. I'm Matt.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Shane.
Welcome to episode 74, SummerSlam 1992.
The SummerSlam you thought you'd never see.
But we watched it. We all watched it.
I know, right?
Wait, it's because it's in a different country.
What were we not supposed to see?
Well,
SummerSlam in another country?
Maybe.
I'm guessing.
Maybe some of these matches, nobody needed to see, but that's different than, never thought you would see.
Warrior and Savage Part 2?
I want to see that.
Brother and brother-in-law?
I want to see that.
Nailz and Virgil.
Nah.
I do like Virgil, but...
Anybody who's listened to me knows I do not.
Yeah, I think Nailz is a cool name.
And that's where it ends.
That's about all it is.
Yeah, there's a really scary band I like called Nailz, but they earn their name.
Is it with the Z?
No.
See?
They're not as cool as this guy.
They had the potential.
I don't think that's true.
So this was the 5th annual SummerSlam produced by the WWF. It would take place on August 29th, 1992 at Wembley Stadium in jolly old London, England.
We're all going to botch this. I'm going to try. I guess it's more funny if we try to do it.
I mean, come on. I went through Japanese names last week. And
yeah.
True.
The show would then air 2 days later in America. The show would have an attendance of 80,355 people.
Disputed.
That's a whole lot of
That's what it said on Wikipedia.
Yes.
On WrestlePedia.
I mean, any number that we give
is
is
be
always
disputed.
disputed.
They're not, there's not like a guy with a clicker.
But the show only had a buy rate of 1.5, which isn't awesome. Because they usually were doing like 2 point something.
Well, there's something here is different.
I mean, it did air on a Monday in the United States.
Well, I mean,
That's part of the problem, I think, with the buy
That's
rate.
a dumb choice. Yes. They could have waited a handful more days and aired it on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Or had the show actually on a different day in London and then showed it on Sunday. And
have it on a Friday in London and play it on a Sunday.
But it also doesn't have, an ex-Floridian bass player on the show. / bodybuilder.
That is true.
/
there is no Hogan.
/
But they were in London, so we didn't need any real Americans.
There's no real Americans there. Do you think anybody flew over from the U.S. to attend this show as a fan?
Probably.
You think so?
I mean, there's people that fly over from England to the United States to watch shows all the time.
But that's people from other countries coming here in the sense of America going, or Americans going somewhere else to see what they consider an American
What Shane
product.
is trying to say is that wrestling fans are poor.
No, I'm trying to say a lot of wrestling fans in the United States are kind of assholes.
Oh, I mean, I'm pretty nice.
I love you.
Send all complaints to Shane at
Shane.Shane.com.
Yes.
But we are in jolly old London, England. So I feel like, Shane, you probably brought us a special treat.
Oh,
yes.
hey.
Yeah, this is your face turn.
This is where I take it all back. Yes. SummerSlam, one of my favorite shows. Coincidentally, around my birthday.
This specific SummerSlam?
No, just in general.
Okay, I was just curious.
I like SummerSlams because they typically happen around my birthday, so that was always the pay-per-view that I got to celebrate with when I was younger. And the first one being in London.
SummerSlam's kind of my second favorite because what it is it's the if WrestleMania is the end of the blow off matches. I mean, that's what we want it to be. It's not always that. SummerSlam is like WrestleMania 0.5 in a way because it's not a gimmick show at all. It's just like a big show, and they typically still have the opportunity to have big matches on it.
Agreed.
So I'm always more interested in SummerSlam than I am Survivor Series, but that's pretty obvious.
I mean, everyone knows that listens to this show about our feelings. But
Shane likes Survivor Series, but he has a good reason.
Yes. I was there. Dang it.
Yeah, I
Growing
was
up as
there.
a child watching.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, with this SummerSlam taking place from London, I decided to try and come up with something a little different. Because
Talking
that's
food.
what I've been doing. Yes, talking food. Come up with something a little different. Turn a classic English dish into a sandwich using ingredients that I can find in Oklahoma because I'm not in England. So
Confirmed, not in England.
The main ingredient that you can't find over here that would be similar would be bacon. The bacon over there is way different. Our bacon over here, while it's flavorful and crispy and delicious, it's not
What do they do over
meaty.
there?
It's
What do they do over
the
there?
way it's cut, the way it's cured. It's actual
Really?
like almost kind of like Canadian bacon in a way. It actually has more meat consistency to it than it is just crispy fat.
Is it a different cut of the pig?
It is.
They just call it bacon?
Typically, it's back bacon.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's not the strips we know and love?
It has almost a ham type look to it.
Okay.
So it's English bacon.
Oh, okay. Well, what's the...
Like there's Canadian bacon.
Yeah,
rashers.
Canadian bacon.
But with this one, I decided to create the Americanized version or the Oklahoma version of a full English breakfast turned into a sandwich. Full English breakfast over there, it's not something they eat on a daily basis, but...
How could you? They
About
look
once
like
a
us
week.
if they did.
Okie English Sammy.
Yeah, there you go.
I like that. So over there, the English breakfast typically consists of a couple types of protein, your bacon, your sausage. It also has some roasted tomatoes, roasted mushrooms, an egg cooked perfectly up,
Sunny
some
side.
beans, and then, I don't know, sometimes I'll throw some potato or whatever in there. Over here, since I can't find all of those ingredients, one of them specifically, the black pudding that it would call for, which is...
I've had
often
black
known as
pudding. It's not that great.
I had to ask Alex about that because I needed to find out if I was missing something and if I needed to really find it. And she said, well, a lot of people really like it. I don't. So
Yeah. I've had, like, a blood sausage where you, like, poke it open and it just, like, looks like a horror movie whenever it pops open, like, onto whatever it's served on. But it tasted delicious. Texture was kind of weird, but it was good. This is a little different. What we were talking about, it was more like of a like salami type looking thing, right? Yeah. So it's like a little bit more held together than
it's
what mine looked like. I said like a horror movie, but it tasted good.
So I went a different route. And,
It's the curry sausage, if you will.
I contacted my friends at the Good Egg Dining Group that I work for and went to one of our sister restaurants, Iron Star, located here in Oklahoma City, and picked up some supplies there. We've got on this sandwich, nicely crispy toasted Texas toast with a little bit of butter. There's some baked beans, smoked turkey. There is a black pepper sausage, some bacon. Instead of the black pudding, since I couldn't find it here, I went for their pudding that they're famous for, their corn pudding, which is like a
Great choice.
Creamy,
Yeah, it's pretty
cheesy, corny, green chili-y
It's like
deliciousness.
it's like the acceptable version of cream corn.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because like cream corn, you're like, get this the fuck out of here. But this is
It's
that,
like cream
but
corn without all
not
the mush.
Yeah, but not the mush. No mush.
And then there's some roasted tomatoes and a nicely fried sunny side up egg.
Perfectly cooked.
Yeah, you nailed the egg.
Hey, I kind of surprised myself on that one. So it's been a long time since I made one. So it took 3 tries and I got that last one.
Well, I don't know which one mine was, but it was pretty good.
I don't know either. Deliciousness, meaty, beany, corny.
And
Assuming
not laughing, corny.
yes, not laughing.
No.
Corny.
Delicious
The
corny.
No.
delicious. Is it a grain, right? Something like that? Or is it a vegetable? I don't know. I grew up in Nebraska. I should know this shit.
Legume.
But
Well, beans is legumes.
But,
Corn
you know,
is useless and tasty.
I'm going to take a bite so you can hear this crispy toast as I bite on air.
Well, as he chomps away, we'll talk about a film that would come out the next weekend.
Tastes good.
Twin Peaks. Fire Walk With Me.
When I was watching this show, there's a moment that I'll refer to later where Vince McMahon, the consumer of culture that we know he is, makes a Twin Peaks reference. And I was like, that's wild. Twin Peaks is ended in 91 because I am a huge Twin Peaks fan and I'm
You are
going
a
to try.
huge Twin Peaks.
I'm going to try to not overdo it. I found out that Shane is a Twin Peaks fan. Didn't know that. So, you know, when I met the guy, I was like, I like him. we're already friends, and now I know.
And now I bring you food and talk about Twin Peaks with
Yeah. This could be a Twin Peaks podcast, potentially. But it won't be. But I'm just saying that I was confused.
Probably not, because I've never watched it.
Well,
I need to catch up a little bit more because it's been a few years since I've watched any, but
I was confused. I was like, what is Vince? Is he that unaware of what's going on? The show's over. And then I wasn't thinking about the movie, and I opened up the notes. I don't read Matt's notes until the show starts. I take my own notes, look between the two of them, breaking kayfabe here. So when I saw Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, my heart grew, 2 sizes too big. And yeah, so and then Shane was like, I watched Twin Peaks live, and I was like,
yeah.
Well, I did not, and that's probably a good thing. My parents, I should not have been watching it at that age. Matt, have you seen Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me? I hope not.
I have not watched any Twin Peaks at all.
Well, if you haven't watched the show, don't watch the movie.
I have literally learned more about Twin Peaks
from just being around me.
From being around you than I ever did.
Well, this movie is very different than the show,
yes.
even though it is the last 7 days of the, what would you say, not the main character, but the reason the show exists is to find out how this girl died. Yes. And the movie is a prequel that is the last 7 days of her life. So you actually get to see this actress act out, her last 7 days. And it is very, very upsetting. It was very shocking to Twin Peaks fans. It did not give them what they wanted, and it also doesn't star the lead actor of the television show, which is another thing. But now that time has passed, people love and appreciate it for what it is. It is a deeply upsetting, but a very much Twin Peaks canon.
Yes.
When it all comes down to it.
Darkness, weird languages, weird visions. Yeah, Twin Peaks was awesome. I mean,
it's kind of the first water cooler show where it kind of paved the way for things like X-Files and stuff like that, and of course Lost, and the way that television is now. This was kind of the first thing that everybody got in on. Unfortunately, they didn't stick with it because the show was not consistently good. People still love it. I still love all of it, but it did get some interference because it came to such a fever pitch that everybody needed an answer, and they forced the creators to give them an answer that they never even planned on giving you in the first place. At the very least, just go to YouTube, search Twin Peaks, listen to the theme song. If you don't feel better afterwards, do you even have a heartbeat?
Yep. If you don't know the name Laura Palmer, watch. If you don't know who killed Laura Palmer, watch.
It got so big. There's a beautiful photo of Debbie Harry of Blondie.
Just wiki read it.
Oh no, don't do that. It takes that. No, Twin Peaks is all mood. It's nothing but mood.
Yeah. You have to watch each individual character in their weirdness throughout the entire thing while you're drinking a cup of coffee, eating a slice of pie in a diner.
Yes, it's a teen drama drawing from the 50s, but then put through a meat factory grinder, and it all comes out in this beautiful stew.
Is the way that we reacted back in 1990s to Twin Peaks. It was unlike anything that was on TV before then, and way darker, way more intense and serious. And I mean,
still has a
Kyle MacLachlan wouldn't have a career without it.
Kyle MacLachlan, famous from the Flintstones
and Sex and the City.
I'll stop it here, but give it a shot. It's not for everybody, but get at least to episode 3. Then you'll know if you're in or not.
Yes.
Well, why don't we walk with me to the opening of this show?
to the apron.
And Vince McMahon, narration over an Ico Pro ad.
Yeah, for everybody who cares about what they put into their body, go Ico Pro.
Yeah. Vince is like, well, is that why Bulldog's at the top of the show? is he the Ico Pro man?
We see shots of the crowd outside of the arena in jolly old England.
It's so many children, so much face paint, and everybody there is so excited, but it's a lot of kids that really like wrestling. It's really cool.
We see 2 young ladies talking about whose corner Mr. Perfect will be in.
That's the show.
That's kind of the big story behind this show. We see a royal band, carriages, shots of Big Ben, before a live shot of the crowd in Wembley Stadium. And there are a fuck ton of people.
80,355 people, parentheses, disputed.
Vince McMahon and Bobby the Brain Heenan then welcome us to the show. And Bobby puts a crown on and says he is Sir Bobby, the King of England. And Vince is just like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He's doing Bobby.
I miss the days when Vince McMahon rolled his eyes at people wearing stupid crowns.
I like Vince as an announcer because he's like almost so bad that he's good. Mm-hmm. It's very, very fun, but I just wish that we could have like cloned Gorilla Monsoon or something. You just need like gorilla backups.
McMahon also says Henry VIII would be rolling over in his grave about the crown. And then they start talking about which corner Mr. Perfect will be in. Before we head off to our first match.
Which corner is Mr. Perfect going to be in is kind of our Who Killed Laura Palmer of this show.
Very much so.
That's a Twin Peaks reference. I mean, I
like it.
I just did it. I'm
it.
sorry. I'll try to contain myself.
So our first match, Money Inc. of $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and Irwin R. Schyster with Jimmy Hart versus the Legion of Doom of Hawk and Animal with Paul Ellering. LOD comes down on motorcycles and Ellering has a dummy on the front of his bike.
Yeah, what was that? Rocco.
Yes, Rocco.
Who's Rocco?
Shane?
You were here. You were there.
I was there, but I, for the life of me, don't fucking remember much about Rocco at all.
Well,
also,
like when he was doing him throughout the match, like little images of it were popping into my head, but I don't remember.
It's like, how do you make LOD
whatsoever.
like more badass?
Give him a
you give him a ventriloquist dummy?
I don't think that sounds like that would work very well. Do you?
No.
Yeah, and it doesn't.
So just in case Shane didn't remember.
What's wild is that they come out on motorcycles. Paul comes out on a motorcycle. Hawk, Animal come out on motorcycles. They look awesome. The motorcycles are great. They're getting a big old pop. And then Rocco. At least it could be a little Paul. That'd be funny if Paul was like losing his mind, so he was speaking through the puppet or something.
Wouldn't a sock puppet been better? Maybe Rick Steiner?
Yeah, of course. Only if Rick Steiner has it on. You leave Rick alone, you son of a bitch.
So the story behind Rocco, I wrote it down just in case Shane couldn't remember.
Yeah, I mean, come on. How could you remember?
LOD had been doing vignettes on TV about losing their inspiration and reminiscing about their childhood.
That is not LOD.
When they would find themselves in a junkyard and they would find their prized ventriloquist dummy.
From childhood.
Mm-hmm.
These kids should have been blowing things up with fireworks, M80s. That should have been, their best friend was an M80.
Yeah,
or like, you know.
They grew up where?
Chicago.
Yeah. These big mean guys.
Town of the ventriloquist dummy.
Jesus Christ. It's fucked. It's crazy that LOD comes into a tag match with Money Inc. and they have the dumber gimmick. That's fucked up. And I mean, LOD, fine, but the puppet is dumber than anything that is Money Inc.
Yep.
Motorcycle entrance school, LOD. This might be the first time they've got the Road Warriors pop, like in something closer to the Road Warriors pop in the WWF, just because of the sheer amount of people there. And there's tons of LOD signs, kids with the pads and shirts.
With the crowd. This gimmick is super dumb.
They're definitely not over with the...
with the man sitting at the announce table.
Yes.
Oh, wait, kayfabe. He's not really the owner and president.
They're not over with Jack Tunney.
Exactly.
Jack Tunney's not a fan.
Gorilla Monsoon hated him so much that he couldn't even attend the show.
Oh. Gorilla Monsoon was like, I'm not getting on a plane for that long. I'm 8 feet tall and 480 pounds.
So the match gets going with DiBiase starting off with chops, slamming Hawk's head into a turnbuckle. But as soon as it looks like the Road Warrior is going to turn the tide, $1 Million Man heads to the outside. Animal comes over to hit him with a double axe handle from behind and roll DiBiase back in, only for Hawk to clothesline him right back out to the floor, followed by a clothesline by Animal. IRS is Irish whipped hard into a corner, and he looks to bail, but Animal steps on his tie to keep him from rolling out.
Oh, that's beautiful and well executed.
Only if the commentary went along with it.
What did they
That's
say?
not his tongue, that's his tie. Yeah. Lame.
Come on. Bobby is always lame.
I mean,
and that's why he's great.
Maybe it's because I don't always get British humor.
What do you mean? The crown doesn't make you British. The beans do.
The Road Warrior then press slams Schyster, and the LOD begins to work over the arm of IRS, only for Irwin to escape and lock on a sleeper on Hawk, which he ends up backing IRS into a corner to force a break. Clothesline by Hawk goes up to the top rope, but misses the flying clothesline when Schyster ducks, sending him out to the floor. $1 Million Man's out to work on him, hitting a body slam, multiple head slams into the apron before rolling Hawk back in.
I have to say how much I dislike $1 Million Man in white.
Oh, that's a horrible take. His white trunks are the best.
I mean, I like it a lot. I just love anybody in white gear. I love heels in white gear. I like faces in white gear. I love
white gear. Normally doesn't bug me, but it just didn't look right on him. Maybe it's just because my eyes are permanently burned with the black trunks and the gold dollar sign. But
yeah.
Something just looked off with the boots. I think it was, as much as I always talk about Steve Austin's knee pads, he had his own little, I don't know, some sort of brace or support or something like that on both of his legs that it was distracting.
The shins were too much for you?
No. It was, I don't know. He looked like he was wearing thigh-high boots because he had the...
I see.
Yeah.
I don't agree.
I just don't like it.
That's fine.
Money Inc. continues the attack with snapmares, elbow drops, head slams into turnbuckles, some chin locks, knee drops, chokes, until Hawk blocks a DiBiase suplex attempt. Begins to power his way to the corner for the... No! The ref misses the tag because of IRS coming into the ring. Schyster then tosses Hawk to the ropes, only for them both to hit clotheslines for a double KO. The Road Warrior is up and finally makes the hot tag.
I love that Bobby, the ref doesn't see the tag or whatever, and Bobby's like, if you're close enough, you don't really need the tag.
Animal's in with a flying shoulder tackle to $1 Million Man, drop kick to IRS, has DiBiase in the corner, only for Schyster to hit a knee into the back. Money Inc. then with a double clothesline attempt, but the Road Warrior ducks and comes back with one of his own. Animal then hits an atomic drop on IRS to send him out to the floor. LOD with an Irish whipped aided clothesline on $1 Million Man, and Animal lifts up DiBiase for the Doomsday device. But Schyster drop kicks Animal, forcing him to drop the $1 Million Man.
Boo.
Hawk then drops down off the top rope, hitting IRS with a clothesline to send him to the apron, while Animal tosses $1 Million Man to the ropes, causing Money Inc. to hit each other, and DiBiase stumbles backwards into an Animal power slam for the pin and the win.
No Doomsday?
No
Doomsday?
device.
First match, no Doomsday? This was weird, but then when the match ended, I noticed something.
What did you notice?
That this was the match where Animal was drunk. You see him exit the ropes and then enter because he just doesn't know where he's fucked up and
Animal was or Hawk was?
Animal was.
Okay.
Yeah, and because Hawk made the pin.
No,
but
Animal made
Animal
the
made
pin.
the pin.
and I guess it was Hawk.
Yeah, and
but
Hawk's
yeah.
usually the one that you hear about having the issues.
Yeah, it was
substance
then
abuse
it's Hawk. I mean, my notes were sloppy, but either way, yeah, it's like they talk about this in a television show that we've all probably watched. But I was like, oh, okay, because I was watching it, and when the Doomsday didn't happen, and then I saw the finish and the rope lock, I was like, I've seen this before. But I was kind of confused because I know that he had issues before, but when they came out with their pads, of course, because it's LOD, and the pads were actually nice and new and shiny, looked good, but they had a little power thing on it, so I was like, well, is this after he got into Jesus and started the power team on his off time? So I was like, oh, so maybe the drunk thing already happened. Turns out it didn't. LOD getting almost beat by Money Inc.
So this match was originally supposed to be for the tag team belts, but Money Inc. had lost them about a month prior to the natural disasters, who we'll see later on in the show.
Well, as long as they didn't lose it to the Beverly brothers.
And this would be Legion of Doom.
So I was right.
Last
I was
match.
Looking around, I was like, dude, you have the information. I think I'm right.
In the WWF for about 5 years.
So, there's plenty of time to find Jesus and join the power team.
Exactly. We then go to the back, Mean Gene's there with Ric Flair. And Flair says, when people talk about bright lights, big cities, SummerSlam in London, they gotta be talking about Ric Flair. And Gene wonders why he's in his gear. Because, Flair's in his trunks, in his robe.
Well, you know the answer to that.
He doesn't have a match.
He's styling him and profiling. Why wouldn't he do that for television?
Flair says he stays ready for any kind of action. But actually, he just had an ear issue, so that's why he didn't have a match.
Got water in the ear.
That's all I could find. Mean Gene then asks Flair about Perfect, because we're still trying to find out which corner he's in. And Flair responds he's in the dressing room of the winner.
Nice.
We then go to Sean Mooney, who's in the locker room with Virgil.
Yay.
And Virgil says
I like Virgil.
He has survived the toughest streets around the world, and I'll survive you, and I'm definitely too legit to quit.
Yeah, I was like, oh, all right. But come...
You didn't grow up with Virgil, okay?
No, I didn't. But Virgil or Spivey?
I'd take Spivey over Virgil because Spivey can at least do a couple things in the ring.
Fuck off. Virgil looks like a big old badass. I don't like that at all.
I think you're on the losing side of that fight.
You take Spivey over Virgil?
I would take Spivey over Virgil.
I still have sympathy for Virgil after all these weeks.
Spivey might be the better character, but...
You mean Virgil might be
Virgil might be the better character, but Spivey's the better wrestler.
It's sometimes you'll just put up with things and just like
Tanya,
I
was the biggest advocate for Virgil for the longest time.
Well, he had those.
I wanted him to break free of the $1 Million Man.
He didn't
I wanted him to show people what he could do, and then he got in there and showed people what he could do, and then I never wanted him to go back in there.
It wasn't anything at all.
But did Virgil any worse of a wrestler? As far as ability, then shit.
Virgil is as good of a wrestler today as he was 30 years ago.
No, is at this point in time, is he any
boom?
Is he any less fluid in the ring than Warrior? But Warrior has the palpability. But
Warrior has energy.
Yes, I'm just talking about as far as
charisma.
In ring ability, your basics. He could do a fucking clothesline and a suplex just as well as Warrior. He just doesn't have.
He can do a clothesline.
The magnetism.
Most wrestlers would.
He doesn't have any real rhythm with his feet. Or
most wrestlers would probably prefer to take a clothesline from Virgil.
Yeah. I'd much rather share a beer with Virgil than Hellwig.
Virgil 92 is the equivalent of Shane McMahon today, where he gets in there.
Oh, you mean they like to throw boxing punches?
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe Shane learned that from Virgil.
Could be.
Moving on to our second match, Nailz versus Virgil.
Sorry for all the Virgil talk.
I thought it couldn't get worse.
So Nailz
yes.
was a former convict that Big Boss Man had treated too roughly and was out for revenge.
So that makes who the heel?
Nailz.
Yeah, but
because he literally made death threats in his promos.
Yeah, but he got
from prison.
But he got beat up. He was already doing his
time.
But
they still let him out of prison.
I'm just saying, Big Boss Man treated him too roughly.
He says Boss Man treated him too roughly.
Okay. When Nailz showed up, I was like, "Is that the mayor? Could that possibly be?"
No.
I knew it wasn't, but I was like, "He definitely kind of looks like Glenn Jacobs, guys, right?"
So, do we want a Nailz moves counter?
A Nailz what counter?
Moves counter.
Oh.
We're going to count how many moves he does in this match. Are you ready? 1. Nailz chokes Virgil.
Yes. He's a shoot fighter.
But Virgil fights back with some right hands.
He trained in Enochiism.
Virgil then hits a clothesline and a drop kick that only has Nailz stumbling into the ropes. Nailz goes back to choking.
Yeah, of course. Woo! Look at him.
Misses a clothesline. And Virgil comes back off the ropes with a sunset flip only for Nailz to stay up, and 2, punch down.
Yes.
But Virgil's moved, cradles Nailz up for a pin, but Nailz no-sells it and begins to choke
him.
Virgil.
Yes. Cool.
Nailz then dumps Virgil out to the floor, following out to 3, slam his head onto the apron multiple times.
That sounds like her. That's a second move, right?
Back in, Virgil with a big boot on a charging Nailz, but it is no-sold, and Virgil is taken down with a number 4 clothesline.
That's going to be my guess.
Okay.
Wait, I would have been wrong.
Nailz then locks on move number 5, a sleeper.
Which, Vince McMahon calls a chokehold, and Bobby says, "Don't you know your holds?" Which is very funny because Vince doesn't know.
He does not know them at all.
I'll point some more out later. They're very fun.
And while he has the sleeper on, the ref just stops the match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guess what?
And
post-match, Nailz just continues choking.
Hey, that's
but with a
heel
nightstick.
shit. That's heel shit. They even had nightstick cam. You see nightstick cam? He stole the nightstick, so he had to have the
good
nightstick.
news, guys.
This is Nailz' last. Oh, nice.
Exactly.
I got it.
Yep.
So then we go to Lord Alfred Hayes.
I was waiting for Nailz versus Hammer. He is the nail. I'm the hammer. 1, 2, 3.
That would be a more enjoyable. Lord Alfred Hayes knocks on Macho Man's door, and he gets no response.
You know what he's there for. He's trying to find MP, MR.
He's trying to find Perfect.
Big P.
And Hayes says he can't confirm the rumors that Perfect is in the locker room of Savage, but can confirm that the door is locked and no one is answered. And I was like, man,
cool.
Hayes is a regular Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Wow.
We haven't seen Hayes in a while.
It's been a while.
He's older. His hair is worse.
We then go to Mean Gene, who's in the back with Sensational Sherri.
I love you, Sherri.
And they send it to a video of Shawn Michaels coming down to ringside during a Rick Martel-Bret Hart match. Shawn starts punching Bret in the face, even though the model has him in a Boston Crab, which causes a DQ.
Which is a pretty slimy thing to do.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Another match, we see Martel coming down during a Michaels match to taunt him, and he gives Sherri a little wink. Sherri returns it and gives him a little smile, like, oh, ooh. We then go to the model having another match when Sherri would come to ringside, giving Martel a smile of approval.
Wearing her flowing designer gown, as it was mentioned by, I don't remember who said it, but the fact that they had to throw those words out there.
I mean, I'd imagine Bobby Heenan. I can't imagine Vince McMahon to say the word flowing. He's pretty averse to adjectives.
We then get back to Mean Gene and Sherri live, and Sherri starts talking about how good looking both Michaels and Martel are.
I mean, you gonna argue?
I'm definitely not. How about you, Shane?
Nope.
And she got her wish with a no hitting in the face stipulation.
Oh, this is so funny. So fun.
But she says she's going to stand right by her man.
She says, I stand just like every good woman by her man.
I have to ask, did any of you think that possibly she was drinking with Hawk before this segment? Because she seemed a little bit...
Wasn't everyone drinking on this show?
I mean, I don't know. Probably. But love you, Sherri.
Yeah.
I don't think she's dead. She's not dead.
So
she's great. All we know is that she's great.
Yeah.
She's sensational.
Sorry. She's not scary, Matt. She's sensational.
That was my other thing I wrote. She's looking a little extra scary.
She's
We'll
healing
blame it on the tipsiness. She's a little bit love drunk.
She's got the makeup, the weird makeup on. She's got face tattoos. Sherri, she saw into the future. Mm-hmm. She knew that these young kids were going to listen to...
She went to the future and got the white version of Chyna's outfit.
There you go.
Could you imagine Chyna and Sherri existing at the same time?
That would be awesome.
Oh, God.
So we go to our third match. The model, Rick Martel, versus Shawn Michaels with Sensational Sherri. And Sherri carries out a full-length mirror. as they're coming to the ring.
Rick does come to the ring first, but he's got full tennis garb on.
Yeah, I was trying
very
to figure
nice.
out.
I mean, I guess tennis is probably bigger over there.
I mean, they're in Wembley. It's where Wimbledon is playing.
That's true.
Oh, yeah. See,
Man,
I don't know anything about
part.
tennis. Andre Agassi. That's all I know about tennis. Anna Kournikova. That's about it. Mario Tennis is a very fun video game.
Yeah.
My favorite part of this is Heenan whistling
Yes.
"Sexy Boy."
Yeah.
I was like, is he whistling?
Yeah,
I was like,
as that was going on,
best.
my surround sound was acting really weird, so it kept coming from like different parts of the house, and I was trying to figure out what the fuck I was hearing because can't see him whistling on the screen.
Yeah, they come out with the mirror, and Vince McMahon says, "Who's more conceited?" And Bobby says, "Well, we know it's not Howard Finkel."
So Shawn's checking himself out in the mirror before the match, and Martel's kind of like, not a bad idea. So he starts doing the exact same.
That's good. Sherri's got her like ass out. She's wearing like a heart-shaped like chaps basically,
Yeah. Yep.
and then she's got like obviously some sort of like underwear or ring gear that doesn't cover her ass cheeks. So it's she's cheeking.
The match gets going as Martel outsmarts Shawn early on, cartwheeling out of a potential hip toss. But Michaels hits the first big move with a dropkick. Shawn is showboating, allowing the model to attack from behind, hitting knees to the gut, and goes for a springboard crossbody, only for Michaels to duck. Shawn with some arm work, and the two then are pulling each other down by the hair.
Yeah, the Rick Martel like hair pull in the wrist lock. He does that like twice in a row, and then Shawn Michaels is like, "You're not the only one that can do this."
Before Martel sends Michaels over the ropes to the floor, where Sherri starts checking on him. The model ends up following out, gives Sherri a hug, which she likes very much.
Yeah.
Before Martel rolls...
She's a two-woman man, potentially. She's also looking to the future. She's polyamorous.
Cherry Two Boys.
Martel then rolls Shawn back in, hitting a back body drop, tosses Michaels to the ropes, but Shawn ducks a clothesline and goes for an O'Connor roll, using the tights, only for the ref to catch him.
And this is where we get a little bit of ass crack. Intentional ass crack.
A little bit, a lot of it.
A lot of it, because the two just keep rolling over on top of each other, trying to use the tights to make a pin, but the ref is right there on top of it until they make it to the ropes. And Heenan says, "I've never seen so many smiles in all my life."
Yeah,
More moons in London, England than on any other planet.
Yeah,
Cheek to cheek to cheek to cheek.
Michaels then hits a super kick to the chest for a 2 count. Begins working the midsection, goes for an Irish whip, but is reversed, only for the model to eat a knee, allowing Shawn to go for a leverage pin. But the ref catches what would have been his foot on the rope, but he totally misses putting his foot up on the rope.
Tried. And this, like, at this point in the match, there's been a couple of moments where they've had the like fists up, and it's like, oh, the stipulation. So they have teased it a couple of times already, and they will some more.
As Michaels is complaining to the ref, Martel cradles him up for a 2 count. Once back to their feet, they're in each other's faces, shoving each other before a slap fight breaks out as Sherri gets up to the apron.
Love a slap fight. God damn it.
They look like they're about to punch each other.
Yes.
And Sherri faints to the apron.
Oh my gosh, she can't take it. These two beefcakes fighting over her. It's too much for her, ass-shaped heart.
Michaels goes over to check on her and accidentally knocks her off to the floor. And then the model rolls out to the floor and attempts CPR. The two start arguing over who's going to help Sherri out on the floor. With Shawn
I don't know, but somebody's got to do it.
Shawn nails Martel in the face, and the two begin brawling up the entryway, and the bell rings.
Come on.
Both men have been counted out as Sherri begins to revive, but she sees what is happening, so she fakes fainting again.
She reverse takers. She's like up and just like sees them, just like drops right back down.
Officials start coming out to break up the brawl, including an old favorite of ours, J.J. Dillon, who we haven't seen in quite some time. And that allows Michaels to come back and pick up Sherri to carry her to the back. And he literally just picks her up on the shoulder, so her ass is just like hanging out there for everyone to see.
And this is the quote that I had, and it'll be the last time I bring it up because we spent too much time on it, but this is where Vince McMahon blew my mind and said, in the States, there's a TV show known as Twin Peaks, and he's talking about her ass. It's like, well, peaks are normally used for breasts. But, Vince McMahon also isn't human. He's a Republican.
He probably doesn't know the difference.
The reason behind it, I believe,
but it's
because I remember him saying that as he's throwing her over
the shoulder.
They have a shot. It's a cleavage shot before he turns around and it's on her ass.
Well, yeah. All right. Well, either way, that's when it blew my mind. I was like, Vince McMahon made Twin Peaks reference? I guess he saw. It's like, I don't imagine he's watched any television show ever in his life.
Well, he was more young and hip back then, so.
Ica Pro?
Almost.
Ica Pro?
Almost.
The model then breaks away from the officials, coming back down to nail Shawn, causing him to drop Sherri. So Martel then picks her up.
He's got a pile driver. At least that's what Bobby Heenan thinks for a second.
But Michaels is back up, hits the model from behind. So now Shawn is picking Sherri back up.
Poor fucking Sherri.
You know what kind of...
She takes more bumps in this match than either one of them.
Yeah. And Sherri's a badass. She can do it. It would have kind of been extra badass if Martel really did do that, where he picked her up and people started to walk with her, look to the left, look to the right, and then pile drive her ass. I mean, and then it's like, all right, well, this third match is going to be crazy.
So after the last time the model got knocked down, he ends up running back to the back, and then he comes back out, but he has a bucket with him. And then he throws it onto Sherri. It's full of water to revive her because, she's fainted. Right?
Yeah. He was fresh out of smelling salts.
She's fainted.
And Michaels ends up
on her face 4 times.
Michaels ends up dropping Sherri once again, chasing the model to the back, and Sherri just starts freaking out.
Yeah. She doesn't know what to think. She's already conflicted. We know that.
We then go to the locker room. Sean Mooney's there with the Nasty Boys and Jimmy Hart, and they're even having a good laugh about what just happened to Sherri. But they are mad about not having a title shot tonight. So they're like, Jimmy Hart, you need to get us a title shot. And he hesitates for a moment.
He's got another team.
But says, yes, you will get a title shot. And the reason he hesitates, you're right.
Yeah.
Because he also manages Money Inc.
Yeah.
Who was the former champion. So
yeah, it's also Ted DiBiase. Nasty Boys, fine, but Ted DiBiase's been around a while.
Man, I hope so. I would hope Ted DiBiase makes more than the Nasty Boys, but
yeah,
I don't know. They're friends with Hogan, so
remember when the one show we watched with the Nasty Boys in WCW, and they had a pretty cool match. It was kind of fun. Yes. And they came to WWF and didn't do anything, probably because the style is different. But at that time in WCW,
how they fell down the tag team ranks in less than a year.
Yeah, but the WCW tag stuff at that time was really good, and they fit in really well. And all the singles match stuff was a mess, and it's kind of flopped since they left. And now it's like Steamboat Rude, and you're like, oh my god, this is incredible. And all the tag teams are gone, and there's just at one point it was nothing but tag matches and tag teams, not just fake tag matches. Yeah. And now the Nasty Boys are over here with DiBiase and IRS, who are not tag team wrestlers typically.
So we're headed to our fourth match, the Beverly Brothers of Beau and Blake
with Leap and Lanny,
with the Genius versus the Natural Disasters of Earthquake and Typhoon for the WWF Tag Team Championships. And as I mentioned earlier, the Disasters had won the belts from Money Inc. about a month prior at a house show in Worcester, Massachusetts.
That's where my dad was born, Worcester, Massachusetts. From what I understand, it's a shithole.
Does it have a shire?
I don't know what it has. I don't know that I've ever been there.
The Genius then reads a horrible poem.
Yeah, I wrote poem and then quotation marks and then just nah. I was like, I'm not writing any of this down.
Nope, not going to do it. But the brothers attack from behind, go for an Irish whip, but Earthquake reverses, allowing Typhoon to clothesline Blake, followed by Quake clotheslining Beau. The Disasters then sandwich the brothers multiple times, a back elbow and a body slam by Typhoon, and goes for a leg drop, but Blake avoids and tries for a body slam of his own. But Typhoon is too heavy. I don't know if you guys know this.
I mean...
He's kind of a big guy.
He's a big guy.
Yeah. He weighs, like, how many buckets of water, you think?
Oh, more than Rick Martel's carrying.
A couple dozen.
more than Rick Martel can carry.
Which forces Beverly to fall over with Typhoon on top for a 2 count. Avalanche splash by Typhoon. Earthquake tries for one, but Blake moves, causing Typhoon to take the splash. Blake then presses Beau onto Typhoon, and then the brain lets us know that Shawn Michaels has left the building.
Yeah, they never did that for world's greatest recording artist, the Honky Tonk Man.
But Bobby the Brain wasn't around.
I mean, that's true.
On house shows they did.
Did they?
Yep.
Well,
because I was at a Honky Tonk Man show where they did.
Oh.
The greatest IC champion of all time. Mm-hmm.
We get a second rope diving headbutt and leg drop by Blake. A leaping body guillotine by Beau. Some chokes and double teams by the Beverlys. Another dropping headbutt by Blake gets a 2 count before locking on a front face lock, which Typhoon ends up powering his way to the corner, but the ref misses the tag. The Beverlys continue with double axe handles, more chokes, ram Typhoon's back into a corner multiple times before he charges out with a desperation double clothesline. Goes for a body slam, but Blake with a missile dropkick to knock Beau on top for a 2 count. Beau continues to hammer away, but Typhoon takes him down by the hair and begins to crawl to his corner, only for Blake to run around ringside and pull Earthquake off the apron, while Beau takes the Genius's scroll, hitting Typhoon over the head with it.
Boo.
Makes the cover, but Quake breaks it up with an elbow drop. Typhoon's finally able to make it to the corner for the hot tag. Earthquake's in with right hands, a hip toss, belly-to-belly suplex, shoulder blocks on Beau when Blake comes in to pull him away. But Quake just overpowers both Beverlys, hitting a double shoulder tackle. Typhoon's now in the ring and tosses Blake to the floor, allowing Quake to hit an Irish whipped aided avalanche splash and a body slam on Beau. Earthquake starts up the trimmers as Beau is back on the apron, but Quake just knocks him off before hitting the Earthquake splash for the pin and the win.
And still.
Thank God. Post-match, the Disasters grab the Genius and then press slam him over the top and to the floor.
Why couldn't the Money Inc. just squash the Beverlys and then just put them on a boat into the ocean by themselves so they can just, die of a heat stroke in the sun? And then we have the Natural Disasters, who aren't particularly over here, but at least they're big, and the Road Warriors, and they could just have a real beefy match against each other. And even if you do the schmoz ending, a dusty finish, I still won't be upset. But, if the LOD went over the Natural Disasters on this show, can you imagine the pop?
It would probably have been a good pop.
It would have been.
It would have been.
They were both faces, though, so... we have
True.
2 face versus face matches on this show,
Yeah.
and 1 heel versus heel match on this show.
That's true.
Which was very rare for
WWF
to do anything like this.
Yeah,
so.
to this day.
Yeah.
Not that, heels and faces even mean anything at this point, but unfortunately.
We then go to the back, and Mean Gene's there with the Bushwhackers. That drink 2 weeks ago.
I got some glue in there.
In an English accent, Butch mentions that we still don't know whose corner Mr. Perfect is going to be in.
I was like, are the Bushwhackers English? What is the deal?
Raise your hand if you thought the Bushwhackers were the first ones ever going to pull out an English accent.
Yeah, no shit. I didn't think they could talk, because I know they can't wrestle.
Rumors are that the Bushwhackers are going to have dinner with the royal family. And I figured it was just probably Jack Victory and Rip Morgan, not actually the actual royal family.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I got at least one laugh.
It was more
exasperating. Stupid things from this interview.
You didn't like the poop joke? I liked the poop joke.
The poop joke.
I didn't like it, but it was better than the rest of it.
It's the Bushwhackers. Do you think I actually cared anything about this?
Yeah. Well, the Bushwhackers, that
My
move
jokes
is
were
just
better
that-
than the jokes that were in
I
this.
know. I can't even fake it with a bushwhacker segment
Well,
anymore.
we won't make you.
We need more alcohol from last week to get me through a bushwhacker segment.
You're too afraid of the one from this week. Oh no, from last week. All right.
Yeah.
Breaking kayfabe. I'm sorry.
We then go outside the Ultimate Warrior's locker room, and there's Detective Alfred Hayes. And he has reason to believe that Mr. Perfect is inside. But instead of being proper, he's just going to be rude and just walk in to surprise them.
Yeah, he's gonna do a real Missy Hyatt.
Jeez, what are you, French?
But as soon as he opens the door, it's slammed back in his face.
I do like that the Macho Man. There was like a sticker that said like Macho Man on it, but the Warriors like changing room. Why am I stupid?
Locker room.
His dressing room is not doesn't say Ultimate Warrior. It's just a sticker of like the shape of the face paint.
Yeah, and it looks like it was colored. Possibly it was colored by his daughter. I don't know because it looked like it was a child's drawing.
It was okay. It was definitely not at the merch stand.
No.
We then go to our fifth match. Repo Man versus Crush.
No, can we go back to Nailz and Virgil?
No, this is better than that. This is better than that. Come on.
So the last time we saw Crush was at WrestleMania 7.
His name was not Crush.
It was Crush.
What?
Yeah.
He kept the name. He just changed
the gimmick. Okay, but yeah, he was in Demolition. I forgot.
Which was episode 54, when these two men were tag team partners.
Ooh.
But they don't bring that up at all during this match.
New gimmicks.
Because Crush.
We've got
So they're completely.
We
new
might
people,
have
right?
the beefiest surfer of all time. Crush is gigantic.
Crush went from being a face painting leather daddy to a guy apparently from Hawaii.
Yeah, cool guy with a braid. But I mean,
Rock.
Crush looks pretty awesome. His gear's kind of fun.
He's got the Billy Ray Cyrus 90s mullet to
He
the
did,
T.
he did have that.
He did have that, but it doesn't. It looks better than your other mullets of previous years. Your
he's
honky
already
tonk
had-
or your midnights.
He's had one failed gimmick already, so they had to try and fine tune things a little bit.
Yeah, I don't hate what they came up with. Not at the moment.
Yeah.
Repo attacks from behind, but Crush no sells and press slams Repo Man. But Repo bails to the outside, only for Crush to follow out with a clothesline. Back in, Crush is working over Repo Man until Repo goes for a crossbody, but Crush catches him, lays him on the turnbuckle to continue the attack.
Come on, Repo. You're like a twig compared to this
Yeah,
man.
come on, you're letting Crush smash it. What the hell are you doing?
Crush with the backbreaker, but Repo Man with an eye poke and then hits a back suplex, which crushes right back up to hit a belly-to-belly suplex. Another backbreaker goes up to the top rope, only to miss a knee drop. Repo starts hammering the back, poking the eyes again, hits a faceplant and makes a cover, but Crush powers out, sending Repo Man out to the floor. As Repo recovers to climb to the top rope, Crush catches him to power slam him, locks on the Kona clutch for the submission and the win.
It's like a
It's
half-ass.
a massager.
Well, yeah,
Massager.
yeah, it's a brain massager for sure. No, I was just gonna say it's a no one's gonna get over with a finisher like that. Not everybody's Mick Foley. Like, what the fuck?
I'm putting the Kona clutch on you guys.
I mean, I was all high on Crush, and then I was like, oh yeah, the Kona Crush is a terrible finisher.
Yep.
But this is a half-ass squash match, and a guy that big should end with a power move. I guess that is powerful to
If you're
squeeze
gonna
somebody's
squeeze
head.
at least make their eyes pop out of their head or something.
I mean, I don't want
Can we get an eye for an eye match, guys?
Yeah.
We go to the back
Yeah,
Bean Jeans there, and he sends us to a video of Warrior and Macho Man in each other's faces on a stage in the crowd.
Five matches in, and we finally get. Or I guess that's not true. We had one thing that's real. We had a real thing earlier, and now we finally get another real thing.
Ric Flair and Mr. Perfect then make their way to the ring where they take the mic and they start making fun of Macho, who runs down and begins attacking the Nature Boy. But Perfect begins to choke Savage with his belt, which brings out Warrior to help out the Macho Man, clearing the ring. We then see Flair on the stage talking to Warrior, with Nate laying seeds of doubt in the Warrior's head. Perfect and Savage are then on the stage, and Perfect says the pay for his services have gone sky high. They're basically trying to say that one of these guys is going to pay Perfect to be in his corner to...
to do the heel shit, to push
him
on his forehead as he puts on a submission move, to trip the man.
We then see Macho and Warrior in the ring for a tag team bout. They start arguing with each other, causing dissension for the match. Outside the ring, Warrior ends up picking up Jimmy Hart when Flair and Perfect run down and attack him from behind. And then that tag team match was with the Nasty Boys, and so the Nasty Boys start basically beating on Savage while Flair and Perfect are beating on Warrior. But all of a sudden, Warrior, they power out, and Warrior starts chasing after Flair and Perfect to the back. But the biggest question about all this was...
Yes.
What the fuck were the tights that Warrior's wearing?
Mm-hmm. Oh, the ones that look like muscle or whatever?
Yep.
Because I was like, dang, I couldn't tell the top half at first. I was like, that's he's just wearing... did he think that he wasn't fit enough, so he put that on because he wasn't comfortable with his body? It's like, I guarantee you, Warrior, you look incredible.
Part of me wants to say that was the case.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's the only thing that makes sense. But he obviously looks incredible with even if he does not.
It's the late '80s, early '90s were weird when that came to stuff. Because I mean, we as kids were submitted to. I don't know if you guys had to sit through it at all, but did you ever have to watch Slim Goodbody?
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it was the show that we had to watch back when we were in
elementary school. I know the drug guy, McGruff.
And it was a show that basically had a guy who talked about
drugs,
the body, and how things worked and whatnot. But he wore a spandex suit that just had organs.
Oh, that does sound familiar. Okay.
So
I don't know if I ever knew the name of it.
An inside-out person, basically.
Yeah.
Remember Inside Out Boy from Nickelodeon? But yeah, it was very, very bizarre tights. They're kind of doing a half-ass Mega Powers thing, but instead of Miss Elizabeth, it's Mr. Perfect. But also, it seems like neither of them want the help, so they're it's a little bit too complicated for people, because it's oh well, everybody knows why somebody would want Miss Elizabeth, but it's if you wanted the guy to help you, why would you make it such a secret? It seems like it's almost too much of a. It's not crystal clear.
So what you're saying is the WWF overbooked themselves?
I mean, it's not the worst shit. It's definitely not the worst shit I've seen.
No, it's
by any means. But it's just kind of the only parallel I can
really
pull.
We saw Nailz on this show. I mean, it's definitely not the worst shit. We then get Heenan and McMahon chatting about Perfect as well, and they say no one has seen Perfect, but Vince calls out the Brain for knowing something.
I mean, Brain is doing a nice
the Heenan always knows something.
Oh yeah,
he's the Brain for a reason.
You flinched when I said this.
Yeah.
You smirked.
So we're off to our 6th match.
The main event.
Yes.
The Ultimate Warrior versus the Macho Man Randy Savage for the WWF Championship.
This not being the main event gets an excuse because of where they are and things, and it's not Hogan at the top, so I'm not too mad. But I was when I got to the show, and I was main event. It's not the main event if it's in the middle of the show.
Yeah, this is
just don't call it that. Call it the title match.
Second WWF pay-per-view that has the championship match not as the main event.
It's just
in a row.
Just don't call it that if it's not that.
So I don't know if you guys noticed.
Yes.
But I didn't mention Perfect at all because he doesn't come to the ring with either man.
Interesting.
So I'm already expecting a run-in of some sort.
Yeah, of course.
The two men have a handshake.
Yes.
But it ends up turning into a face-to-face confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
Savage then hits several clotheslines and goes up top for a double axe handle, but is caught in the gut by Warrior, who follows with a stalling atomic drop. Literally, he gets that.
Oh, it's huge. Also, before we get too far, he's got what I'm calling the meat singlet.
Yeah.
The Warrior's got the meat singlet, and Macho Man has gear that only could be inspired by the early 90s futon boom. Mm-hmm. This is I don't know if you're not old, if you're not 30 plus, you don't, or even older than that, you don't know the futon boom of the 90s. But it was a real thing. They weren't comfortable. Everybody had one. They all had bad designs. But this is the worst Warrior and the worst Macho Man gear, potentially of all time, in the same match for a title.
Earth tones were no longer a thing. Everything had to be bright and blinding or
it's like
confusing because they made it look like flesh and muscle. And,
I was even confused by it.
I was happy the Warrior was wearing ones that were a little darker, redder color, as opposed to the extreme flesh tone that they showed in the
but it's
clips.
still pretty wild. And Randy's is like, we know he wears some crazy flamboyant shit, but this is pretty gross.
Mm-hmm.
Warrior continues with an inverted atomic drop, clotheslines, shoulder tackles, goes for an elbow drop, only for Macho to move. Savage locks on a reverse chin lock, which Ultimate Warrior escapes with a jawbreaker, follows up with a face plant to take control of the match. A short arm clothesline for a 2 count by Warrior, goes to pick up Macho, but Savage throws Ultimate Warrior into a turnbuckle, and then a clothesline to send Warrior out to the floor. Back in the ring, Macho's up to the top for a double axe handle, but Ultimate Warrior no-sells it. So Savage goes for another for a near fall. Macho tries for one more, only for Warrior to catch him and hit a backbreaker for 2, and starts pounding away on Savage once again. Ultimate Warrior must have a different kind of face paint than he usually does, because it's already gone, as he locks on a bear hug momentarily, turning it then into a side slam for a 2 count. Goes for a body slam when Macho cradles him up for a near fall.
I wonder if the Warriors' Coke sweats or something like that are extra severe and it's all just running off.
Yeah. Maybe they can't get the same kind of paint in the UK.
Could be.
I'm sure that
A swinging neckbreaker by Savage, followed by a jumping guillotine, tries for a vertical suplex, but his back is hurting, allowing Warrior to get back on the attack, working the back even more with clubbing forearms, and hits a vertical suplex of his own for a 2 count. Ultimate Warrior goes for a clothesline, but Macho moves, sending Warrior out to the floor. Savage follows out with a top rope double axe handle, slamming Ultimate Warrior into the steel steps and the ring post.
No.
Once they're back in the ring, Flair and Perfect are then shown making their way to the ring. Macho sets up for a pile driver, but Warrior reverses into a back body drop, which is reversed into a sunset flip for a near fall.
You mean he gave him an atomic drop? A drop? Because, I mean, Vince McMahon is calling an atomic drop a pile driver earlier in the match. He's calling it a pile driver, and the pile driver must be an atomic drop.
A clothesline, body slam, and Ultimate Warrior goes for the splash, but Savage gets his knees up.
Oh, right into his fake closed muscles.
There's real muscles under there.
The two both hit clotheslines for a double KO spot, and Warrior rolls over to make a cover for 2. Then Macho rolls over for a cover for a 2 count. Savage then goes to bounce off the ropes when Perfect trips him up, and Vince starts losing his mind about Warrior selling out. Macho's talking to Perfect when Ultimate Warrior comes from behind to nail him, hits a double chokehold and a boomerang Irish whip that ends up nailing the ref.
Ref bump?
Warrior with a body slam comes off the top rope with a double axe handle and makes the cover, but the ref is late getting there for only a 2 count. And now Ultimate Warrior starts arguing with the ref when Savage comes from behind with a high knee that sends Warrior into the ref, and Hebner goes out to the floor. Macho then with a pile driver goes outside to revive the ref, while Perfect jumps in the ring to revive the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh my god. So, I mean, you know, he's a little warrior.
Perfect's then holding Warrior up when Flair comes into the ring to nail him with brass knuckles.
Oh my god. Swerve.
Savage sold out?
What the fuck?
Maybe Perfect and Flair are falling out.
Macho has the ref back in the ring. Savage then hits a body slam and goes up top for the elbow drop. Makes the cover, but Hebner still hasn't completely recovered. So he's slow to the count, and Macho only gets 2. Flair and Perfect, you see him scheming on the outside, while Warrior starts ultimating up. Savage is hammering him to no effect at all. So Ultimate Warrior hits multiple clotheslines, a flying shoulder tackle, lifts him up into a press slam before starting to run the ropes, where Perfect misses a trip, but Flair catches him with a chair shot to the back, and both men are down for the count.
And I love this crowd because they do Warrior chants all through this match, but British, so it's Warrior. It's all A's. No Warrior. Warrior. Very good.
Macho Man's up to his feet first, and he's like, what happened to Warrior? He doesn't know how he ended up on his back. The Savage is like, I gotta take advantage. So he goes to the top rope. But instead of flying into the ring, he flies out with a double axe handle onto Flair. But Nature Boy's ready with the chair shot to the leg.
I mean, so Macho was attempting a face turn here. He's like, no, I'm not going to win like that. I didn't hurt this man. Somebody else must have hurt this man. I'm the better man.
So Macho's, his legs destroyed out on the outside, and he's trying to crawl back to the ring, but he doesn't make it in time and is counted out.
And if you'll notice that ref count, there is no delays whatsoever in it. It's just boom, 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 boom.
Or are you thinking that maybe they're like kind of running over on time, or?
Oh, possibly. They either that or they're just
over it.
Yeah.
Post-match, Flair and Perfect continue to attack Savage, working on the leg with a figure four. All of a sudden, Ultimate Warrior is rolled out of the ring and begins to make his way around ringside. Right as Nate is about to use the chair again, Warrior grabs it away and ends up chasing Perfect and Flair back to the locker room. Ultimate Warrior then comes back out to the ring where Macho's still hurt. And after the official announcement, Warrior grabs the belt away from the timekeeper, helps Savage up, and hands him the belt before helping him to the back.
Yeah, and Vince McMahon says something to the effect of, both men are champions. And it's like, Vince, you can't have both these guys be faces. What are you doing? That's a bad choice.
It's too early for a dual champ.
Well, you say that. And the original idea for this match was for Warrior to win and turn heel. But
so like something a little bit better.
But right before the show, Ultimate Warrior would freak out. Basically, like...
I believe it.
Yeah.
And so they changed the ending to this count out.
He was like, I won't sell any merch. What about my comic book that I want to make in a few years?
Just think of the Dark Warrior stuff we could have got.
Just think of the...
But on the other hand, like...
They don't have whole...
Warrior as a heel champion, when you have Flair... Because he basically would have probably ended up teaming up with Flair and Perfect.
Yeah, because like Flair turning face with Savage and Perfect breaking up to do heel. It's like, okay, well, you got four guys that...
I mean, that might have worked if they had done that.
Yeah.
But I mean, Flair's usually going to be your heel. I mean, he works better as a heel.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be a face. You know what I mean? It's
so I'm like...
It doesn't even make any sense. And is it just that Flair just not beefy enough and he doesn't want to put him on top?
I have no clue on that one.
I mean, that's obviously the answer.
Probably, I just fucking got rid of Hogan, so...
It's like, oh, well, who looks the most like Hogan?
Well, it's Warrior, of course.
Yeah.
But, I mean, so the whole original idea of turning Warrior heel, like, for this match itself makes sense. But when you start thinking down the road a little bit, it's kind of like,
well, what do you do?
Maybe that's not the greatest of ideas, because who's he going to...
Eventually he'd have to let a little baby face beat him at some point.
Exactly.
Freak out.
Or just Savage takes it back from him and Warrior leaves wrestling. Because Savage will always be able to fucking pull it out because he loves wrestling and he's good at it. So like he's gonna stick around.
People like
Yeah,
him.
exactly. And like and Ultimate Warrior is a flash in the pan.
Well, they then go to the back, and Mean Gene's there with the Nature Boy and Mr. Perfect. And Perfect says, a deal was made. It was with Ric Flair. And then Flair says, I should have had the shot to begin with, not the Ultimate Warrior. But now you ask the Warrior what he wants in life, Well, it's going to be me. And baby, I'm waiting on you. Plan A, maybe that slid by, but now we're looking at Plan B. And baby, the way I see it, the two most perfect men alive today are this gentleman and myself. Let me tell the whole world, and especially one man, something. Savage, that belt is coming back to me.
He said, Plan B. If that existed in 1992, I'd have a suitcase full of it.
And in fact, Flair would win the belt back 3 days later.
Ooh.
At a house show.
Oh my God.
Back in the States with the help of a certain bad guy.
Oh. All right. I have some assumptions, but so why the Warrior?
I kind of wish they would have just let him chase after Flair and Perfect with the chair and leave just the same way he did the SummerSlam before.
Oh, you just running?
Yeah.
Literally, as soon as he started running after him with the chair to the back, I was just like, they did the same ending last year with SummerSlam. I was like, is he getting fired again?
Oh, okay. Wait a second. Also, this show, at the beginning of this match, Warrior and Savage are talking shit. Mm-hmm. There's no microphones on them. Warrior yells the word respect and then spells it incorrectly. He says like RSPCT. I can't even spell it. It's hard for me to even spell it incorrectly because I've listened to music. Like we all know how to spell respect when we were like fucking 4 because of Aretha Franklin, but he spells it incorrectly to the point where I was like, I had to rewind it multiple times. It's like he is spelling it incorrectly too, because like it's like he does it so fast and it's silly and it's like, oh my God, it is embarrassing and funny. All that being said, it was entertaining. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
And still your champion.
And still.
We go to our 7th match. Kamala with Chee and Harvey Whippleman versus The Undertaker with Paul Bearer.
And the last time we saw Chee.
The last time we saw Chee, well, we haven't seen Chee, but we have seen the person who plays Chee.
Is he pretty good at staring at the lights?
He would be, because it is Steve Lombardi, a.k.a. the Brooklyn Brawler, who we haven't seen since WrestleMania 5, which was episode 28. But we also haven't seen Kamala since Great American Bash 1985, all the way back in episode 4.
Damn.
Where he took a nice little power slam from Magnum TA.
Yeah, but he
was a highlight video, basically.
Yeah. he wasn't Kamala at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, he was? So he's been doing this gimmick for like a decade.
Like 40 years.
And and it's like, okay, well, the gimmicks got over in territories, and now we're just going to try it in 92. It seems like a gimmick that would be better in the territory days.
He kind of jumped in and out of territories, WWF, back and forth, and it just happens.
He got over really heavy.
Never
like,
happened to be around
back in the day, but, at this point, it's just like, ugh.
Yeah, for the territories that they had back then, WCW or NWA and WWF.
This is like some fucking southern or Memphis goofy shit that would have worked really well in like the early 80s.
Yeah, and it did.
He was super over, and they booked it well back then. But television's a different thing. But well, Kamala is here.
He was a name though that I hadn't actually got to watch him wrestle too much, but I knew who
lucky
he was.
For you, you won't see him wrestle much, ever.
You get a little bit more of him.
I mean, no, I'm just saying he can't wrestle. But Mr. Moonbelly himself, Kamala, welcome to the show.
Whippleman would make the introductions for Kamala as Chee would lead him down to the walkway. Usually has like a
staff and
the
big African mask. Yeah, it's like he's basically like
his handler.
Yeah, he's like Tarzan Savage type of thing, except for
Yeah, but he wears like a beekeeper mask or.
No, it's an African. It's like an African.
No, I'm talking about Chee.
Oh, Chee wears that. Yeah. I was like.
Undertaker then comes out being driven to the ring on a hearse.
Badass.
That was thankfully because we might still be waiting for him to get to the ring.
Yeah. And Bobby Heenan says we're probably going to need a bigger hearse for, Kamala's big ass.
Match gets going and Kamala goes to attack from behind, but Taker turns in time to begin throat thrusting and choking the Ugandan. Kamala misses a splash in the corner, allowing Undertaker to hit old school. Looks to try it again, but Whippleman jumps on the apron and starts to shake the ropes, forcing the dead man to fall to the mat.
Yeah, Undertaker does a little flip bump from the top too. He doesn't just fall to his feet. He does a little a 360 if Gorilla was here.
And how is that not a DQ?
This is
shaking the ropes
a different show
in front of the referee.
Different show. This is not a Bill Watts. WCW.
Well, he couldn't come off the top rope either.
And I love the crowd here is so good. There's so much cosplay, which probably wasn't a word back then, but there's a couple that's wearing Taker cosplay, and all the kids have warrior makeup on and stuff. It's really cool.
The Ugandan with a clothesline to send Taker to the floor where Chee and Harvey happen to be, so he begins to choke both of them until Kamala comes out to attack from behind and slam Undertaker into the steel steps. Back in the ring, the dead man ducks a clothesline and comes back with a choke slam. A leaping clothesline picks him up for the tombstone when Chee just jumps in the ring, hitting Taker with his helmet, and the bell rings. And Undertaker wins by DQ.
Kamala wasn't going to take a pin from the Undertaker? Huh? What? I was like, if he just pinned him, I wouldn't be so down. But it was just really took the wind out of my sails.
Setting up for the future.
Post-match, Taker grabs Chee, hitting him out into the ring, allowing Kamala to attack from behind, hitting multiple splashes in the corner, a body slam, a leaping splash, a second rope splash, and a top rope splash onto the dead man.
Yeah, none of them look particularly good, but he did it. The big unathletic fuck.
But then the Undertaker just sits up.
Bum, bum, bum. He did a reverse Sherri.
Which scares Kamala, who begins to run away to the back with Taker stalking him.
Yeah, it's the 2 DQs in a row, though. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's fine. I mean, if this was a one-off match, they wouldn't have done this finish.
Yeah, I get it. I got it while I was watching it, but I was like, why is it more than one match? Was my complaint.
You'll see.
Yeah.
There's meaning behind it.
Okay.
We get one of the classics. We get one of the classics here soon.
Okay, cool. Well, that makes me feel better.
So can I make a serious announcement on here? Just because of the news that we learned.
Shawn Michaels has already left the building.
Well, no, not that. I'm talking about real life today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for those listening, just before we started recording this episode, we heard the news that Kamala had passed away today. So, love and respect and peace and all that stuff to him, his family, or any of his diehard loyal fans.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Slap my stomach just for the memories.
Yeah, rest in peace, Moon Belly Warrior. Ascend to the stars.
We then go to the locker room.
Also, we should probably say his real name. His name was James Harris.
There we go.
and we don't know much about him, but hopefully he was a good man and lived a good life.
We then go to the locker room. Sean Mooney's there with the British Bulldog and Davey Boy. I've fought 2 years to be the number 1 contender. That's why Jack Tunney made this match. I have nothing against Bret Hart. I just want to win. Being in front of my country isn't pressure. It's a dream.
Hell yeah.
We then go to Mean Gene, who's with Bret Hart. And the Hitman says, "It irks me that he acts like he doesn't know me when we are in the ring. I introduced him to his wife, brought him into the WWF. His dream is going to become a nightmare."
Not even his wife. My sister, his wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think the offense came from British Bulldog saying, when I step in the ring, I never met you, and I don't even know you. And he was like, what are you talking about? You're banging my sister.
Howard Finkel then introduces the Balmoral Highlanders. They're just a bunch of bagpipe players playing Piper's theme song, which brings out the infamous
Hot Rod himself.
Roddy Piper,
Hey.
who they hand a bagpipe to, and he supposedly solos for a moment.
I mean, he plays like the thing, and then they all come in, but he's legitimately playing it because I was looking at the hands and stuff. I was like, oh no, he's playing it. Probably not as well as they were, but
not bad for a Canadian.
no. I love that Hart, Bobby Heenan says, "I've always hated hard rock." It's like, all right, Bobby, you're the best.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
We then go to Sean Mooney, who's in the crowd with Diana Smith. She's the wife of the Bulldog.
Yeah.
Sister
Shoot
of
wife,
the Hitman.
Shoot sister.
Sister of Owen.
Shoot double sister.
And Diana says, this match is going to be difficult to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, so was this interview.
Yeah. She does have, like, I will defend it a bit.
Okay.
She does look worried or frazzled. Maybe it's because she's on television and that's not her job. She rambles entirely too much. If she kept it shorter, the frazzled, like, look on her face is very genuine. And later in the show, we'll see reactions from her that they don't look like a fucking joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, her emotions are real, but it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, her promo wasn't good, but was she supposed to give a good promo? She's not a person that...
I don't think she should have given a promo at all.
I think that she should have, but I think that they probably should have been like, all right, a little quick.
Pre-recorded to where they could make her a little more comfortable.
I don't know. I like it, but yeah, she does wander hard, and I think
They
that
probably should have done it live in the crowd, basically.
Yeah, but I
Should
think
have
the live
probably been in the back.
I think the live in the crowd is good, and that's probably why she is so frazzled looking. But it's like, well, she fucking choked. She doesn't get paid to do this.
Mooney asks her, who's going to win? And she responds with, she's not concerned who wins. That family is more important than championships.
Of course, and you guys are right. It was brutal, but someone's got to stick up for Diana.
I just like how Sean Mooney basically just kind of says,
"Oh, we cut her off
shut up now. It's time for the match to start."
Yeah, he had to because she was really
she was
positive.
Rambling.
Yeah, they were like, it wasn't even that she was saying a lot. It's just that there was long ass pauses. It's like if she could
I thought she was going to become an Almond Brother because she was rambling, man.
God damn.
She is very much her mother's daughter because old Helen Hart back in the day when they'd show her on TV, she was just as
Unprofessional
fluid on the microphone.
Yes.
So we got our 8th match. The British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, versus Bret, the Hitman Hart, for the WWF Intercontinental Championship. We get Lennox Lewis walking out with the Bulldog, waving Union Jack.
Pretty crazy. I was like, oh, all right. That's neat.
Yeah, I wouldn't
That's a nice
expect
little
Lennox.
touch.
Well, make sure to let everyone know that, Bulldog's the hometown kid. You know.
Oh, yeah. This is the British Bulldog. We're at Wembley Stadium.
So Davey Boy overpowers Bret early on, knocking Hart out to the floor momentarily. Bret then takes control once back in the ring with several side headlock takedowns, only for Bulldog to toss him off to the ropes. Go for a slam, but Hitman floats over and rolls up Davey Boy. Then a small package, both for 2 counts. The two are working some mat wrestling, working on each other's arm, until the Bulldog catapults Bret into a turnbuckle. Back to the arm work, only for Hart to escape again, but Davey Boy retaliates with a crucifix for a near fall. Basically, every time one of them seemed to get a little bit of momentum, the other would just come back with an armbar to slow it down.
Yeah. And also, like, Bret's not really working as a heel. He gives the glasses away to a kid, and he, like, kisses the belt, and, like, so, yeah, like, it definitely is completely sold the whole time as a contest of, like, who's going to be the better man tonight.
Yeah.
Because we know they're both, like, good men and good wrestlers.
Hitman with a knee to the gut, a leg drop, back elbow, elbow drop, and an inverted atomic drop has him in control. This is where I had to laugh at Vince because he called the inverted atomic drop a reverse pile driver.
Oh, yeah. That
I was like, a reverse pile driver?
Who like he says he calls an atomic drop a pile driver 3 times, and the first 2 times he calls an atomic drop a pile driver. When it's the inverted atomic drop, he calls it a reverse pile driver, and I'm like, what in the fuck are you even speaking about?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out if that's what he had said or not in that spot because I had the closed caption running at that time.
Yeah.
And it brought up the words reverse. And then in parentheses it said incoherent or something like that. So.
Yeah, I think so too.
The Bulldog with another crucifix attempt, but Bret blocks and hits a Samoan drop. Davey Boy then with a monkey flip charges into the corner but eats a boot from Hart, followed by a Bulldog on the Bulldog.
You missed our little, right in between there. There was a reverse chin lock where you can see Bret call the match. Right on camera. It's so obvious. It happens again in this match a couple times, but it's like, Bret, you're the best there was.
We'll
get to that.
We'll talk more about that here.
It's crazy. He should be fined for that. I don't like counting people's money, but damn, sir.
Hitman goes up to the top rope, only for Davey Boy to press slam him off. So the Bulldog then climbs to the top and misses a diving headbutt as Bret moves, following with a faceplant. Hart with a body slam attempt, only for Davey Boy to float over and try for an O'Connor roll, but Hitman ducks, sending the Bulldog out to the floor. Bret then flies out with a slingshot pescado before ramming Davey Boy into a ring post.
And we get the sister cam, Diana cam.
Back in the ring, Hart with a hard Irish whip, a Russian leg sweep, uppercuts, drop kicks, back body drops, all for multiple 2 counts.
You know what I love about Bret Hart does the European uppercuts, as they call them, or I guess the boys back in the day would call them lifters, but Bret Hart hates chops, so you never see him do them, and he prefers the lifters and stuff, but he thinks that chops look like shit and they hurt too much to look as bad as they do, so he's completely against them. And it's just one of those things that I notice with Bret Hart matches, and I couldn't disagree more. It's I don't know what a chop feels like. I know it looks like it stings, but I think that they look great. No, thank you. And I think that they look great and they're awesome. But it's just one of those things that I notice. It's oh yeah, Bret Hart doesn't throw chops because he doesn't want chops, and he doesn't think they look good, or he just thinks that they hurt too much. But it was when he did those lifters or the European uppercuts. I was Sometimes you watch a match and you remember a thing a guy said.
Hart goes back to a chin lock, which the Bulldog starts to fire up from, only for Hitman to hit a back suplex and go back to the chin lock, which is then reversed into a backslide by Davey Boy for a near fall. Elbow to the back of the neck, a backbreaker, and Bret goes to the second rope for an elbow drop for another 2 count. Snapmare and back to the chin lock by Hart before turning it into a sleeper, which the Bulldog escapes by making it to the ropes. Hitman with some stomps and goes right back to that sleeper, only for Davey Boy to escape this time by backing Bret into a corner, followed by trying to press slam him, but Hart ends up dropping onto the ropes. The Bulldog's firing up with multiple clotheslines, hits the press slam, a stalling vertical suplex, all for 2 counts. Davey Boy then sends Hitman chest first into the corner, goes for a running power slam for the pin, and no! Bret kicks out and rolls to the apron. The Bulldog goes to bring back in with a vertical suplex, but Hart floats over and hits a bridging German suplex for a near fall. Hitman then attempts a suplex, but Davey Boy blocks and lifts Bret up to the top rope to hit a superplex for a 2 count. They both then hit clotheslines for the double KO. Hart makes it to his feet first, applies the sharpshooter for the No! The Bulldog makes the ropes.
It's right. It's basically as soon as he locks it in.
Davey Boy reverses an Irish whip, only for Hitman to come back with a sunset flip. But Bulldog drops down onto the shoulders for the pin and the win. And new! Post-match, Davey Boy is handed the belt, and he is staring at it as Bret finally sits up.
Big old pop. Big old pop. Come on.
Hart keeps
there's
trying to
people
leave the ring.
But he can't do it. It's family.
When finally the Bulldog goes to extend his hand to Hart, Bret changes his mind, comes back into the ring, and the 2 men shake hands and hug. Diana then joins them in the ring for hugs, and the 3 celebrate in the ring together.
Here come the waterworks.
Yeah, I know. It's the cry cam.
And pyro goes off as Vince says their goodbyes.
The finish of that match is beautiful.
Yes.
Agreed.
It's one of the best things that the WWF has ever done.
The finish is just like the sunset, but then he leans forward is incredible. I was like, I'm exasperated just thinking about how great it is. And it's one of those things like, well, I don't know that I've seen that done successfully again. Can you even do it again? I don't know.
So you were mentioning that Bret just kept calling the match and you could see it.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
There's a reason.
Oh, I feel there better be one, because if not, it's like, what the fuck?
Because Bulldog is probably high off of his ass.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Bulldog is...
I mean, he looks pretty...
He looked
glazed over. Like, this match was not as good as I expected it to be, and maybe that's why. And I don't think it was bad at all. I think it was really good, but it wasn't as, like... It was well worked, but it didn't have much electricity considering what was going on.
Yeah.
And maybe that was part of it.
And say what I read.
Because he wasn't, if you're not completely, if your brain's not there, no matter how well trained your body is and how many times you've done the thing,
Yeah, what I read was Bret basically had to call it on the fly because Bulldog had spent the last few days partying. It didn't list anything about painkillers. It said booze and cocaine.
Yeah.
I mean, it might have been booze and cocaine.
Yeah.
I mean,
Either way,
he was high on something.
Yeah, he was definitely not at his best, which
he couldn't fully function and forgot the bulk of the choreography that they had planned for it. So,
like, even the finish, Bulldog wasn't supposed to extend the hand. He was just supposed to celebrate, and Bret was supposed to just leave.
Yeah, but Bret obviously knew that he couldn't just leave because of the situation.
So it was...
He's like, oh, okay, like, this is what we have to do. He did the right thing.
Once he extended the hand, like, Bret ends up turning heel if he just walks off at that point.
Yeah, and Bret's not...
Bret stays face.
Yeah, Bret's not a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And this match proves that shit.
Exactly.
to a goddamn T.
So, some other random news about this show. This show was originally going to be in Washington, D.C., but
Capital Combat 2?
Possibly.
RoboCop
no
3?
RoboCop, though. But it was moved because of WWF's growing popularity in the UK. So with the change of venue came the change of storylines. It originally wasn't going to be Davey Boy in this match with Bret Hart. It was going to be Shawn Michaels winning his first IC title.
I mean, that's a great show here. Over there, they did the right thing.
I mean, it wouldn't have been the main event if it had been Shawn and Bret.
Yeah, totally.
It would have been.
I wonder.
They probably would have just flipped
swapped
the two
them.
matches, basically.
Yeah, but it's like, the only reason this show is on top is because it's the British Bulldog. It's like, why? It'd be silly not to.
Absolutely. So, gentlemen, what are some of our overall thoughts of SummerSlam 1992?
There are 3 good things on this show. Oh, you want me to list them off? We don't all
I mean, do you have anything else?
I mean, it's Shawn Michaels and Rick Martel, Macho and Warrior, and then Bret and Bulldog, and 2 of those 3 end with a fucked finish, and then Undertaker Kamala was kind of fun, and it ends with a. Is there any fucking pins on this show?
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Ugh, it doesn't feel like it when I'm thinking about it right now. But, I mean, the show's not hard to watch at all. It wasn't, like, pulling teeth or anything, but there's nothing so high where I'm like, that's the one. And I wanted the last match to be, and I felt like there was something off and it should have been better than it was. You guys gave me, a perfect excuse why it didn't hit on the cylinders that I expected it to. Granted, I still think it was very good. It felt like a house show practice match of like leading up to the performing in front of 80,000 people. You know what I mean?
To be honest, I thought this was going to be on your short list.
I liked it a lot, but it didn't really have any electricity. Considering there's 80,000 people there, it was a little. I liked it a lot, but there was something off, and I didn't know what it was.
Oh.
And I think that you gave me a good excuse. Like, I thought about rewatching it again because I was like, fuck, I want to really like this. And it's better than everything else on the show.
Yeah.
That's fucking, like, because it's a wrestling match.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why you probably assumed that I liked it, because it was a wrestling match. But I, like, had way too high hopes, maybe.
Which,
because I like the
that
angle.
happens.
Yeah,
That
it
definitely happens.
that definitely happens. But
how about you, Shane?
It'd been a while since I've watched this one, but it still holds up over the years. Yeah, like he had said, the Michaels Martel, it was good to see the two of them in there because it was kind of the, I don't know, one gatekeeper passing the torch to the next in a way.
yeah,
Just because Martel was always used for those quality matches all the years, and Shawn Michaels is coming into his own and will find himself being the gold standard in no time.
also the angle of, like, Sherri, like, who's hotter? It's like, well, fuck, I don't know, Sherri. Like, I'm more of a Shawn guy, but Rick Martel's a little too big and a little too tan for me, but he's also pretty hot. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's personal preference here.
Agreed. I don't know, the Warrior Savage match. You know, I remember when it was new, and I wanted it to be as memorable or emotional as the Warrior Savage at Mania 7, and he didn't have the.
Not quite. Doesn't quite hit that level of emotion.
And then you find out the backstory on it, and it just makes it a little more disappointing too. But
also, it's like 28 minutes long, which doesn't feel like that,
No,
because
it
and that's the
doesn't
thing. That's
feel
the
like that
thing
at
that
all.
like Savage and Warrior, like especially Warrior, because Savage is always good, or at least he's always been good up to this point, where like he just doesn't disappoint.
Yeah.
It's impossible for him to disappoint. But Warrior always brings a
Warrior
energy
always
and an
steps
electricity
up to the level of the person he's wrestling.
Yeah, he's got the electricity that, like, no matter how long he's out there, it doesn't feel like that long, because as much as we talk shit on him, like, he does have a magnetism to him. It's not quite Randy Savage, but Randy Savage has magnetism and, like, talent, whereas Warrior has just, like, so much magnetism that he doesn't have room for talent.
Yeah. So for me, this show begins the changing of the guard in the WWF.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have been more excited that Hogan wasn't on the show. That's kind of my biggest
And
takeaway.
I loved it. That, because it felt good almost.
Yeah, it also felt different because it was like, oh, we're in a different country. We're in a different country in front of a bunch of people, and they all like this guy. It's a shame that he fucked himself like an idiot, but it's a shame, but like that all these. British Bulldog was not super over in the WWF. He was super over because he was in, it's like Bret going to Canada.
Over, but he wasn't. Yeah. He wasn't super.
He wasn't pulling 80,000. He wasn't pulling.
No, he wasn't a headliner.
No, like he wasn't headlining. Like B shows probably. Maybe B shows. Maybe B shows, but he wasn't headlining A shows, like house shows.
No.
So, isn't it a really big bummer that he had this opportunity and he pissed it down the drain?
Yeah.
I mean, there are some crap matches on the show.
I'd say,
but none of them last long enough to really be worrisome.
No,
it's a very watchable show, which sounds like a diss, and it almost is.
So for
but
me,
watchable shows are hard to come by sometimes.
For me, the two main events deliver on everything you want from a top match of a wrestling show. And that makes this show a top 5 WWF show that we've watched.
Really? You think so? It's good. I don't have any strong complaints. I watched the show. The show is way easier to watch than plenty of others. Like, I watched the whole show, and then I was like, it's kind of late, and I saw that the last match basically was like 40 minutes, and I was like, well, I'm going to go to bed because I want to watch this like with fresh eyes. But a lot of the times I don't watch these shows in one run because sometimes it's a lot. Like, taking notes on 3 hours of wrestling, like, and then having to watch a Beverly Brothers match sometimes, or some things that just don't work at all. Like, if you don't care about it and it doesn't, and it still keeps moving, sometimes that's a win.
I'd have to agree. I Just like you were saying before, the not so good matches didn't last long, and the good matches, even though they were longer, they went by fairly quickly. So I mean, even the
I didn't even realize that like either one of those matches was like 25 minutes long.
No, I didn't either.
Until I looked at the
Yeah.
time, the official time.
Me neither.
Yeah, and that's what I was expecting Bret and Bulldog to be 30 plus minutes, just because it was the first time overseas. It was the first pay-per-view. I think, with the Intercontinental title as the main event.
It's the only show that's ever had the Intercontinental title as the main event.
And it was their first outdoor arena. So I mean, it had all these other little frills and whatnot in there.
First pay-per-view outside of North America.
It was a fucking huge show.
So I mean, it was very enjoyable.
But also like all that huge energy added to some of those things being more palatable, I think. Just because the crowd was so good.
The crowd definitely delivered in making this show being much better than it probably ever deserved to be.
This show in front of like 10,000 people in the U.S. somewhere, like probably we would not feel the same way about it.
It's a good chance.
Yeah.
Good chance.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? All right, fuck you.
I think it's time we smark it up. So best moments of the show for you guys.
It's all kind of like a bizarre. It's like the 3 matches that I listed earlier. It's like, oh, well, there's moments from all of that.
The whole Sherri.
The Sherri, like
is
Sherri
great.
is great. It's like Sherri. I love the like sincerity in Diana's eyes, but she also was like probably like, where's my husband been? Has he been on coke? Has he been on cocaine and sleeping other places the last few days?
Yeah.
And then she's losing her shit, and you can tell at the end of the match, like Bret Hart is like more attentive to his sister, and she is more attentive to him because she's like, basically, I assume at this point, after what you told me, that she is like thanking her brother for fucking making this fucking work, which is kind of crazy because I was like, damn, like, and
everything that I've heard, Bret basically protected Bulldog from anyone really ever finding out about any of this stuff, and it was Bret's idea for Bulldog to win.
Yeah, of course it was.
And because basically, if probably anyone had found out that he was on this coke binge, this title change doesn't happen.
But I mean, his fucking wife definitely knows.
Shawn
and like
attacked him before the match, and then they would have just reset the Shawn and Bret match.
Yeah, probably.
I outside of her bad promo, I think Diana brought a lot to this match. I did appreciate her presence and quite a bit, but
I mean, the final moment with them all 3 in the ring,
it's great.
Was an emotional moment.
Yeah, definitely pulls on the old heartstrings.
It definitely makes up for her bad promo.
Yeah, the bad promo. This bad promo's bad, but I'm not too mad at it.
How about disappointing? Rocco.
All the LOD opening. I mean, LOD in WWF is
Virgil say
underlined.
That is bad.
Yeah.
Alfred Hayes being like his 2 segments were just.
They're not his worst.
They're not his worst, but
they were. I know he had to be there because of it being in London, but he was totally unnecessary for the show. They could have easily. Anybody else go and knock on a door or open a door.
I don't know if there's anything that I absolutely hate. The show's very fluffy. You know what I mean? It's just like, like the lows are still just kind of like, whatever.
You would think my least favorite match would be Nailz and Virgil. I didn't give enough of a shit for it to be the worst match in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a fair stance.
My least favorite thing, and I think it's because it's one of the most disappointing things on the show, is the tag team championship match. They had Typhoon be Ricky Morton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you put it that way, yeah, they did.
Who was probably the worst worker out of the 4 men in that ring?
Yeah, I mean, like, we know, like, Tenta's a big boy, but he can move.
He can
move. Like, I mean, I don't know what kind of shape he's in at the moment. Like,
Typhoon can look intimidating.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Fall out of walls.
That's about it. Yeah. Nothing too shocking about him on my.
I guess.
Radar yet.
Yeah. I know where you're going. I didn't realize that he was so large. Did he drop some weight to get into that mask? I just don't remember maybe I only remember the mask and not the body.
Maybe the glitter makes it appear smaller.
Yeah, that's why they put disco balls in in discos, so everybody looks a little bit better. It's like a light trick.
Anything else from you guys disappointing?
I mean, I
The Kona
gave
Crush.
2 shits about Virgil and whatever his
Okay,
name was.
maybe I'm
Nailz.
disliking the show more than I thought I did.
Yeah, like I said, there's nothing great.
I wasn't a fan of the Repo Man versus Crush because I've hated Crush throughout his entire
It is a
career.
horrible finisher.
I mean, I hated Crush and
If
Demolition.
he pinned him flat, I would have been fine with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think that it was
Crush
pretty
when
well
he
worked
becomes
before
whatever
that.
the hell he becomes next. Brian
Adams.
Adams or part of Chronic or whatever the hell they
Everything
want to call
I
him.
do, I do it.
Acid and Wasted.
For Repo Man.
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, very watchable show.
Best performer of the night?
Diana.
I was going to say Sherri.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna throw Sherri some love there. 'cause
Sherry's always gonna get my love.
much like with Mick Foley and those couple shows ago where he just got his ass kicked by Sting. Sherri got her ass just dropped left and right and left
Yes.
and right.
And she took a angle that is stupid and made it interesting the
And
whole
fun.
time. Interesting and fun the whole time. But
Yeah.
that is the magic of Sherri. Like you never are tired of Sherri. She's always, every single time she's on screen, she takes it by the fucking reins and is like, you're my bitch right now. For whatever, if it's 2 seconds on camera, if it's a fucking 30-second promo, if it is standing outside of the ring, she makes every second count. For that, I hope she's living well wherever she is, because she's fucking earned it.
How about most surprising?
For me, it was Bret calling the match in the ring, but I didn't have the other stuff, so I was like, what is going on here? This is not right.
I mean, people call the match in the ring all the
Yeah,
time.
but not like that.
I mean, that's why they kept going to the chin locks, is because he had
Yeah. I mean,
keep-
I've seen people call, but like it wasn't. Normally they like hide it on camera or the guys do whatever, but Bret was like, it's so blatant. We catch stuff all the time, but it's
Yeah.
not even worth talking about. But this was like head scratching to me, and
I guess
now
when you're dealing
now
with
it's fine.
somebody who is coming off of a fucked up state and then having to
I can't imagine.
speak through
I can't imagine doing that fucking hungover on anything.
80,000 people. He's gonna let his lips move more.
Yeah, he's got to fucking make sure he hears it and shit. He's probably also cursing his ass out at the same time, using a few extra words.
The most surprising.
Fuck you.
Actually, most surprising for me, no Hogan. Hulkamania is dead. Hulkamania died at SummerSlam 92, and I think it was the most appropriate time for it to die, and I can't wait to never see
For when it comes back?
Hulkamania again.
Yay!
I can't wait. I can't wait for him to just like stop wrestling and buy some Fazoli's and just be like a Fazoli's owner.
You know we still got like...
Wow, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
We still got
Well,
like
I was gonna say
20
Shoney's,
years
but
of-
that's a Scott Steiner thing, and then it was also an allusion to Pasta Mania. Like I know that Hulkamania comes back.
You know we still have like 20 years
Yeah,
of Hulk.
I'm well aware.
You know what doesn't come back though, and I hate to break it to you. It might be something to throw on the most surprising. Rocco.
Rocco doesn't come back.
Does Rocco find Jesus and join the power team?
Probably. Probably.
He moves to Australia and has a modern life. I don't know.
Nah, he's making Vegemite sandwiches.
And now for a look back even further into the history of wrestling.
The dusty finish.
On January 23rd, 1984, the Iron Sheik was supposed to face Bob Backlund in a rematch. But the former champion didn't show up, so he was replaced in the main event by Hulk Hogan. Hogan would power out of a camel clutch, ram the Iron Sheik into the turnbuckles, and the atomic leg drop for the pin and the beginning of Hulkamania. Hulk Hogan would dominate the WWF for the rest of the 80s and into the 90s with his heroic All-American persona. He would introduce the 3 demandments of training, saying prayers, and eating vitamins. Eventually, a 4th of believing in yourself would be added. He would appear in the first 9 WrestleManias as he was the face of the WWF. Hulk Hogan's first reign would be over 4 years until he met the Giant in the biggest main event ever to date.
I am a real American.
Shut your whore mouth over there.
Fight for the rights of every
Next
man.
week,
Iron Sheik should have broke my leg.
Clash
Saved
of the
us
Champions.
Sometime.
20.
He saved us our lives. Sorry.
The 20th anniversary.
20th anniversary of the Clash.
That's not.
Do we know where it's hailing
It's
from?
like there's like 4 a year. The 20th anniversary show because it's like a quarterly show.
It's the 20th Clash of the Champions.
Yeah, I know that. It's not a year
It's
thing.
the 20th anniversary of wrestling being on TBS.
Okay. That
It's
makes more sense now.
93? Or I guess because they built up to Starrcade, so 90. I get it, 82.
72 to 92, 20 years of wrestling on TBS.
Okay.
You asked me a question. I apologize.
I was going to say, where is Clash coming
Oh,
from?
we're coming from Atlanta, Georgia.
Ooh,
We're
back
headed
to
to Georgia. So Shane will have to be a little creative possibly next week.
I think so.
Yeah, maybe like some gas station chicken.
Doesn't sound delicious at all.
No? Something with peaches. Something.
Maybe
something with,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, some strip club egg rolls.
Those are delicious.
I don't know. I'm not sure what food is in Atlanta. These were things that definitely exist in Atlanta. They are not
Oh, we'll have to do something different than the
gourmet.
the pimento cheese and fried green
I mean,
tomato.
if you wanted to bring
yeah,
that sandwich
I'll be okay with bringing it
back,
back.
I wouldn't complain.
After that last WCW show, I
Yeah.
might need to bring it back just so I can have a happy something. If Clash is anything reminiscent of
We can just do a Rap Snacks tasting. You know what Rap Snacks are?
No.
They're potato chips that are different flavors that have wrappers on the package.
Oh.
Typically from Atlanta, Migos.
Music from this week's show is the theme song from SummerSlam, and British Bulldog was the winner of the main event, so we play his theme song, Rule Britannia, by Thomas Arne.
Heck yeah.
He is a real
Quit it.
brother-in-law.
He is a real Britannia. He is a rule Britannia.
Fights by
You guys
his
are ruining the song
fights
that's
by
underneath.
fights by
Going
his
on
rules.
right now.
He has no rules.
Hey.
If you like this episode or any of our other ones, please go out there and rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts at. Do as Michael always says.
5 stars.
Or no stars.
There we go.
And send us some of those, if you have any recipe ideas for us, email those to us at wrestlinghistoryx@gmail.com, or just anything else you want to send to us. Or find us on Twitter at WrestlingHistoX. That's Wrestling HISTO X. We'll talk to you next week.
Laters.